Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Friends, on behalf of Param Vedanta, I extend a warm welcome to all of you for joining us for this 8th session of Panchadashi, Chapter 1, Tattva Viveka. In our previous session, we explored verses 25 to 28, which will now be briefly revisited by Dr. Komal Prasad, helping us reconnect with the flow of the teaching. Continuing the study of Avidya, the cause of samsara, today we delve into verses 29 to 32 of the first chapter, Tattva Viveka. Here, Swamy Vidyaranya, continuing the topic of Avidya, says the jiva caught in creation falls into the trap of raga and dvesha, either while struggling to acquire or to avoid. This endless cycle continues even beyond death as the jiva moves from one subtle and gross body to another. The partial knowledge sustains the cause of samsara. From verse 31 to 64, the text turns to the means of moksha, the way out of this cycle. To guide us through these profound verses, we are privileged to have Dr. Sachin Chavre, Sri Shiv Kumar, Dr. Sanjay Banakal, and Srimati Smitha Pai, presenting their insights and explanations. The session will be moderated by Dr. Timmappa Hegde sir. Srimati Rama Gopal Krishna shall be conducting the quiz segment later today. Let us begin with the recap of verses 25 to 28. Over to Dr. Komal Prasad.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. We are seeing a revision of verses 25 to 28. As seasoned Advaitins for some time, who are now training ourselves to treat everything as indivisible, one indivisible whole, we are parallelly bombarded with samsara every day, the suffering and the nitty-gritties of everyday life, and we are trying to do a root cause analysis of what is this trap of samsara about. So if we see how this text is going to affect us in our daily life, it will be more meaningful and it will be more understandable if we take in that context. So we are seeing this, the biggest wonder when we come through the eyes of original consciousness or Advaita, there is no second, is the Prakriti, which we saw, which can be divided into 3 divisions, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Those are the 3 original gunas, the knowing, doing, and being faculties. In the next slide, we see the universe as we know is of 2 parts. That's the original consciousness and this Prakriti part. And this Prakriti part, the Sattva Pradhana-Prakriti, Rajas-Pradhana-Prakriti, Tamas-Pradhana-Prakriti. So Sattva Pradhana-Prakriti is Maya, which is Shuddha Sattva Prakriti. And when original consciousness shines on this Maya, we get the Ishwara. And the Rajas Pradhana Prakriti, that is Malina Shuddha Sattva Prakriti, is otherwise called Avidya. And Avidya Pratibimba Chaitanya is the Jiva, what we are keeping it as one aspect we need to explore further. And then the Tamas component, Tamas Pradhana Prakriti is simply called Prakriti, and the original consciousness which shines through that will be the Jagat. With this background, we see the first differentiation between me and not me as we see in this gross world, that's the Vyashti and Samashti, differentiating collective from the individual. Samashti Esha Sarvesham, with the collective or the totality, does Ishvara have a sense of identifying itself with? So Ishvara is omniscient. He has that capacity to identify with the totality. That is Samashti. As we see in the next slide, Samashti and Vyashti, the collective and the individual, is the first thing which we have to keep in our two hands and weigh them and analyze them. That will be the preliminary step to get into Jiva Ishvara Aikyam. As we see in the next slide, what we are looking at is the essential oneness of these two components, Jiva and Ishvara. When we are dividing this in for our analysis, we should always keep in mind there are no two separate compartments as Ishvara and Jiva. It is one common fabric. What we are analyzing is that individually, if we say a fabric is 80% cotton, 20% polyester, it is like it is merged into each other and we cannot separately, it's a mental exercise to differentiate these two for our understanding to move further. So eventually we'll come to that Jiva and Ishvara is nothing but the same, the essential oneness. Like a golf ball which is shining in a room which is lit very well, there's one component which reflects that whole light to the entire room like a glowing ball, like a moon. That's the Ishvara component which will be creating the macrocosm. Those small dents on the golf ball you can assume as jivas, which because of their concavity, the light which falls on it will form a small blob of light as a reflection, and it assumes that's the whole world for it. As a frog in a well, that jiva assumes that is it. There is nothing, even though it is actually a reflection from the same original consciousness. Unlike Jiva, who is omniscient of the entire drama, what is happening, the Jiva has gotten into the trap of itself, its ahankara, which feels that blob of light which is reflected just near it is the thing, and everything else is the cause of the suffering or the happiness which it is enjoying or suffering. So eventually we'll come to that. We'll see the next slide. So what we have now, Jiva and Ishvara. We saw the differentiation in verse 25. So that is the Vyashti and Samashti, microcosm and macrocosm. And the other way to look at it is the three levels of Karana, Sukshma and Sthula, Prapancha and Sharira. That's the causal body, causal universe, subtle body, subtle universe, and gross body and gross universe. Now we will get into a little more complexity from the next verse, that is from the 26th verse, to see the other technical terms. Again, because this is a recap revision session, we need to remember always that these are all technical terms for our understanding. It's like a ladder which we are using to climb up. And once we reach there, this differentiation and this strict demarcation of this different terminologies will cease to exist. The purpose of this will be needed only till we get that principle behind it. Jiva Ishvara Aikyam. After that, this will become less meaningful. Like last week, I had been to a medical conference in Korea. So whole of my previous week to that was so busy in understanding their visa formalities, their language, their food, currency, keeping the papers ready. Now that I went and came back, I don't even know where those which was they were so precious for me for the whole of last week. I don't even know where I have kept them. Because it is now once that objective is achieved, they have no meaning at all. Similarly, these different terminologies is only for the purpose of taking us to the next dimension of understanding, that is the Adhyarapa and Apavada. Once we come to that Apavada stage, even these terminologies will be taken out, torn apart, once we get into the actual meaning of the purpose of this whole differentiation. If we assume that this is a scientific explanation of creation, which we all know, but we get into the trap of thinking it as such, then we will be failing the original reason why we are reading this, why we are going through this. So coming to this slide, what has happened here? The original consciousness and then that aberration, that reasonless Anadi Prakriti, which is a wave in a still ocean which has three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, and that which reflects the original consciousness through it, causing Maya, Avidya, and Prakriti. That's the material Ishwara. So these are the three Prakriti 1, 2, 3. And now the creation at the microcosm level and macrocosm level will happen. At the causal level, the first is the Prajna, Jiva at the causal level, and the material cause all put together, that Ishvara, the totality of Prajna and Jivas, we can call it as Ishvara or the Prakriti as it is. And then comes the Tanmatras, the five elementals, which will be the original basic elements, which when gets merged with this, the Prajna becomes Taijasa. That's the Jiva at the subtle level. And the Ishvara, the Prakriti becomes the cosmic womb, the Hiranya Garbha. So in the next slide, we see from verse 26, the Panchikarana, the birth of gross elements. We saw the subtle elements, now we are seeing the gross elements. Why these are to have a reason, why this grossification happens? Vidyaranya says, to provide Taijasa with the objects of enjoyment and the bodies to facilitate such enjoyment. Ishvara, by the process of Panchikarana, makes each element partake of the nature of all others. Panchikaroti Bhagavan. Tat bhogaya punah bhogya bhoga ayatana janmane Panchikaroti Bhagavan pratyekam vyadadhikam. So then how does this Panchikarana happen? In the next slide, we concentrate in the central part, how the Tanmatras at the subtle level becomes by grossification, how they become the gross elements. So we have gone through that and we have understood how it first, each elemental, the next slide we see, is divided into half, and the other half is formed by 1/8 portion of the other four elements of the space, air, fire, water, and earth. So those we see at the Vyashti level, these are the ones which will create the karmendriyas and gnanendriyas for the individual. And at the other end, we'll see at the samashti level, these are the reasons for the Atala, Vitala, Patala, that all that 14 lokas. So in the next slide, we see the verse 27. A little detail, whole of Panchikarana, which we studied in detail during our Tattva Bodha. Here, Vidyaranya just touches in one verse and moves forward because he assumes the students of Panchadashi are who are well versed with the Tattva Bodha concepts. Each element is divided into two equal halves, and then the other half is divided into four equal parts, and then as we see in the picture, so this is added together to form the gross elements. So each gross element has a 1/8 portion of other four elements. The next slide, we see that how at the Veshti level, that Gnanendriyas and Karmendriyas eventually will have a relation to this grossification. And in verse 28, we see here Vidyaranya does not touch about the Veshti level. He talks directly about the Samashti level, evolutes of the gross body. At the Samashti level is what? Brahmanda, all the 14 words. Yeah, at the 7 higher planes as well as 7 lower planes. So, and the bodies of that we from those that from that arose the objects of enjoyment and the bodies that enjoy them. In the next slide, we see Hiranya Garbha, which identifies with total gross body, will become Vaishvanara. That's at the Samashti level. And on the other side, in the next slide, we see the third last portion of that verse, which says that Taijasa becomes Vishwas, identifying with the bodies, be it of devas, men, or other animals. That's that Tiryang, that's the horizontal ones. So that's the framework for creation, what we saw. With this in mind, which, as I said, is a ladder to climb beyond this. This is for our understanding, for our logical thinking, for our root cause analysis of what is the reason for the trap of samsara, which we'll be seeing in the further verses as we start today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Komal, for a detailed recap of the verses we studied in the last class. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. To go into a recap once again from the very beginning, we are looking at the first chapter of Panchadashi, Tattva Viveka Prakarana. We have come today to a very crucial stage from which we will have a very accelerated takeoff. What is the unique thing about Panchadashi and the first chapter of Panchadashi, Tattva Viveka Prakarana? Swamy Vidyaranya does a miracle. And the miracle is from verses 3 to 10, he does a very unique form of analysis. In just 8 verses, he makes us think of our own experiences. For example, you are listening to me. Just analyze your experience. Every word that I utter, which is coming into your ear, it will be a sound in your ear, and finally it comes into your mind as a thought. So every experience comes to you in the form of a thought. Now look at the wall in front of you, look at the wall around you. Now you have different experiences. Thoughts are changing, but the consciousness because of which you are able to see, because of which you are able to hear, that is constantly there. So in every experience, there are 2 things. One is which is constantly changing, the other which is always there. Now we are analyzing the consciousness aspect. That consciousness aspect which is there in every experience, very nicely spoken in Kenopanishad as Pratibodha Viditam Matam. If there is something that is there all the time, then that's something which is there and all the time, that is called Sat. So now Vidyaranya brings your awareness to the Sat aspect. That means that which is always there, and the Chit aspect. When you have Sat and Chit together, you have what is called I am. Now, we have come into touch with Sat and Chit, and that is my real nature. I am Sat Chit Atma. There is something in me, that is the consciousness principle. And this consciousness principle is not changing. It is there ever since I can remember from my childhood. It is there in all 3 periods of time. And so you have come in touch with Sat Chit Atma. Then he does a very nice analysis of whom do you love the most? And the answer is very clear. We love ourselves the most. Why do we love anybody or any object? Because that is a source of ananda. And therefore, if many things have come into my life and gone, but there is something that has never gone, I must be a great source of ananda. So there must be, I deduce, I am Sat Chit Ananda. Now Vedanta says Brahman is also Sat Chit Ananda. So logically, I may not have intellectually or aparokshatava, or my life has not been transformed. I have understood that I am Sat Chit Ananda. Now see, there is a big difference between the experience of Satchidananda. Experience means the moment I discover my limitlessness, suddenly I have no sense of limitation. I have no sense of I am different from you. I have no sense of I am this body. I have to preserve this body. I have to take care of my family. I have to be bothered about all that I'm normally bothered about, my possessions, obligations, relations, and transactions. Now, these problems or these relationships still continue. That means I know I am Satchit Ananda, but this has not brought about a great change. I know I am, but I am not convinced I am that. So what has happened is I have got knowledge about my true nature. I have got Brahma Vidya, but this Brahma Vidya comes with a certain problem. That problem is called a Pratibandha. Vidyaranya Swami in the first few verses gives a very nice example of when you go for a children's program, and especially if some child that is known to you, your own child or grandchild, is chanting something that you have trained your child for, but because it is drowned by the voices of others, you can see him or her opening the mouth, but you cannot clearly make out the voice. That means I have knowledge, but I have knowledge with some obstacles, and that is called Pratibandha. Now, with all what Dr. Komal has recapped now, all these complexities where the whole creation has come into being, this whole creation is a product of Maya. Now, what has come is we have brought an introduction to where is that Pratibandha. That Pratibandha is called Hridaya Granthi. The Hridaya Granthi is I have partial knowledge and partial ignorance. That is the meaning of the word Avidya. Avidya does not mean ignorance. Avidya means partial knowledge and partial ignorance. Because of Avidya comes Kama. That means if I do this, thought will arise, then I will be fulfilled. Kama produces karma. Karma produces punarjanma. And that is the Hridaya Granthi that is going on. And that is why we have been caught in this trap. And because I do not know my true nature. We have also a nice definition of what is an obstacle. An obstacle is defined as that which makes an asti bhati vyavahara converted to a nasti na abhati. Although I am already that, I am asti and bhati, but then because of pratibandha, I am not able to experience my true nature as asti bhati. So to understand, we have this, what was already explained as the Jiva Jagat Ishwara triangle. Now, in today's verse, from today's class, we are analyzing a little more details into why I have this Pratibandha. And one of the verses in today's class is based on a Kathopanishad verse, a Kathopanishad mantra, which comes as the first mantra of the second chapter. In our Kathopanishad Mananam classes, we have finished the first chapter. And this is something that we are going to immediately study. An extremely useful mantra to remember. And what does this mantra go? I will briefly explain. Paranchikani vyatarnat swayambhuhu tasmat paran pashyati na antaratman kaschid dhiraha pratyak atmanam aikshada avrit chakshuhu amritatvam icchan. Now, the problem has been pointed out, and the beauty of our scriptures is they not only point out the problem, they also give the solution. A very strong Upanishadic statement giving us an idea why, although I am Parabrahma Paramatma, I am Brahman, I should be Purnamada Purnamidam, why I go through all these limitations. Paranchikani, Vyatarnat Swayambhuhu. Swayambhuhu, the one who is born by himself, the creator, Vyatarnat has destroyed, has harmed all of us by creating a manufacturer's debt. Paranchikani, all my sense organs, my eyes, my ears, and all my sense organs are focused outside. Tasmat, therefore, paran pashyati. I am always focused outside. Na antaratman. Atman is not only recognizable inside, but remember, Atman is everywhere. Although I am seeing everything, I am seeing Parabrahma, Paramatma everywhere, but my mind is not able to recognize it. Why is that? This is because of the block of avidya kama karma. And whenever there is avidya kama, when I do not know I am purnamada purnamidam, Then what happens when I see objects which attract me outside, classified under 3 categories. It is called putreshana, vitteshana, lokeshana. The desire to have an offspring, and that brings about the sexual drive. Vitteshana, that is to have wealth. Lokeshana, to be the lord of this universe and other universe. So these are the very strong drives which come in the form of karma. And when there is putreshana, vitteshana, and lokeshana, when karma comes, there is no way you can attend a Vedanta class, because Vedanta class will look like 1 hour of waste of time. In that time, I can pursue so much which is useful for me, because I have avidya, I do not know my true nature. But then, if a guru and if a teacher is able to give you your true nature, then the next line comes. Kaschid dhiraha. Dhiraha means a viveka purusha. Of course, trained through a guru and shastra. Pratyag Atman Aikshat is able to see that Atma Tattvam, my sarvam idam prottam, that which is everywhere, Vishwarupa Darshana Ishwara, and to be able to understand that consciousness principle within. Avrita Chakshuhu Amritattvam Icchan. Amritattvam, that one who's seeking immortality, that one Amritattvam Icchan. When you desire the immortality, you have your eyes are able to focus differently. It is not that your eyes are focused inside. Your eyes now have Divya Chakshu. That means I'm seeing the world, but what am I seeing? I'm seeing Shri Krishna. I'm seeing existence. And that is the training that is possible in this most beautiful first mantra of the fourth Valli of the second chapter of the Kathopanishad. Let me explain in other words. Every jiva is in a whirlpool. Now, this whirlpool is caused by avidya, kama, karma. Now, from today's class, in comes the magician, the guru, who is called Karunanidhi. Now, this is the pivotal moment in all of Vedanta students when the Guru Tattva enters into our life. And when the Guru Tattva comes, Jnana Yoga comes. For the first time, the teacher puts you into the path of Shravanam, Mananam, and Nidityasanam, when there is a consistent exposure to spiritual wisdom, hoping that at one time, slowly and slowly, the obstacles will go away and I'm able to discover myself as Aham Muktaha, Aham Nitya Anandaha. The Guru's only object is to be able to give us a clear goal. What is my goal? I want to be happy all the time. And what is my means? None other than Jnana Yoga. I am already that. I need to remove that ignorance. And the process of ignorance removal is through Shravanam, Mananam, and Nidithyasana. Now, from today's class, all the verses will be Guru mantras. And what does the Guru do? I have said this many times. This is the only job of the Guru. The Guru takes away from us what we think we have, but we do not know. But we do not have. That is our ego, our wrong belief, our delusion that I am a limited being. And he gives you, or he reveals to you, that which you already have, but you're not convinced about, my true nature as Sat Chit Ananda. Let me tell you a very powerful story. This is a story of a child who's been lost. And a group of people come around to help him. Unfortunately, the boy does not been able to communicate. He's not able to tell his name. He's not able to speak properly. He's not able to communicate. And therefore, everybody has a difficulty in trying to help that child But everybody is looking at some way or the other to help. Now, if somebody finds out whether you're hungry, gives him something to eat. Somebody would give him a toy to play. Somebody may take him home so that he is comfortable. But there is one person who makes a decision that the only way I can help this child is to help him to get back to his parents. And he would find out all ways and means to get resources to trace who is this boy and how to get back to his parents. Now, this is the role of a guru. The guru's job is to help us to get back to our original nature. Unless we come back to our parents, which is symbolically our original nature, and that is the great role of a guru. That is the beauty of, now we should not imagine Guru as a person. If you imagine Guru as a person, of course, Guru represented by a person, but the Guru is not a person. A Guru is a tattva, a principle, predominantly a sampradaya, who is a whole stream that comes from Sadashiva Samarambha. And that is why the Guru's greatness is the sampradaya, or the tradition that which comes from. And that is why we are so grateful for our Guru. And in today's verses, you will see that is the role of a Guru. A Guru is who helps us to discover our true nature. Every time we make this Guru mantra, Akhanda Mandalakaram, Vyaptam Yena Characharam, Tat Padam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. What is the role of my Guru? Why do I do Namaskara? Tat Padam Darshitam. He is able to give me that vision which he has. What is that vision? He is able to give me the vision of Brahman. And how is Brahman described here as Vyaptam Yena Characharam? That Brahman, or that consciousness principle, Vyaptam means all pervasive. It pervades everything animate and inanimate. And what is the nature of that Brahman? Akhanda. It is indivisible. Mandala Karam. It is in the form of an unbroken circle. It is in the form of a whole universe. That means the entire universe is pervaded by some entity. That entity, which is the infinite, which seems to be all pervasive, which is my true nature, and which is helped to discover by my Guru, Tat Padam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So all we have discovered is, in the first 8 verses, we declared I am Satchid Ananda. But this Satchid Ananda is not my experience. I'm still so ordinary. Why is that? Because of Pratibandha. Why is that? My sense organs are all focused outside. Even though my sense organs are focused, I give a lot of importance to all the objects outside. Putreshana, Vitteshana, Lokeshana, primarily because I'm not convinced I am Purnamada Purnamidam. But my Guru reveals to me I'm not ordinary, I'm extraordinary. We will see that in today's class. The opening verse will be described by Dr. Sachin. Dr. Sachin, please.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. The verse number 29 is Taijasa Vishvatam Yata Devatir Yagnaradaya Te Paragdarshina Pratyak Tattva Bodha Vivarjita. Next slide, sir, please. The meaning of this verse, Taijasa Vishvatam Yata. Already in the recap, we have seen that the subtle and the gross and all the manifestation of nothing else than Brahman. These are all the states and also the 3 Naradana, animals, humans, and gods. All 3 Taijasa Vishwatam Yata. These beings are outward looking. Parag Darshinaha. Their attention absorbed in external objects and experience. Sir already mentioned this, that Maya part is actually playing the role that has been diverted externally other than seeing inwards. And they lack the realization of the inner self, Pratyek Tattva, the true nature of consciousness. And that's why they are taken always away from the self, the higher self. Next slide, sir. And with this story, which we have already seen many times, the story of the king Janaka. One day when he had In the afternoon, he had full meal, and then he went into a slumber. He had a dream where he was defeated. In the next slide, sir. He was defeated and he was left to go away from his kingdom. This was a very vivid dream, and he realized that he is now a beggar, no more a king, and he woke up from his dream. Next slide, sir. So this king, when he woke up, he was so miserable and he did not know whether the dream was real, or now when he's woken up that he is the king, that is the reality. So he was caught between these two reality. And then Ashtavakra, the saint, comes in and he explains that neither the dream nor this is real. What is real is you. You meaning the higher self, the consciousness within you. So this story actually explains the Maya Tattva, which is seen both in the dream state and in the waker state. And that takes us away because of this power of Maya, the wheel of Maya, it takes the real self away from the self. In the next slide, we see again a representation that, as we have also seen in Drigdrishya Viveka, the real seer is always hidden because of the scenes. The dreamer, the waker, always hides the self, the higher self. And also, I want to emphasize on the next slide in the verse number 43 from Drigdrishya Viveka, where Madhurya Drava Shaityani Niradharma Tarangake. So when we see the ocean, we see that there is ocean, waves, and the foam over it. But basically, if you see all these three things have nothing but the tattva, Madhurya Dravya Shaitani, the tattva of water, the liquid. So whenever we see ourselves interacting with the world, we should always think that it is just the reality is the self, which is then there within all of this, right? From the Hiranya Garbha, Taijasa, Vishwa, everything is nothing but Brahman. This is the meaning, and hence for the next verses will tell what actually happens, how this unfolds, and finally the solutions to always think within us. This will be said in the next verse. Hari Om.
Thank you, Dr. Sachin. That is why your parents have named you Sachin, to all the time remember. Not only for you, Sachin, our names are also Sachin only. Our true names are not only Sat, Chit and Ananda too. Our next speaker is Shiv Kumar. Shivji, please.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. In this verse, 30th verse, Swamy Vidyaranya in this 30th verse of Panchadashi gives an evocative and vivid metaphor to describe the cycle of samsara and the elusiveness of moksha due to ignorance of our true nature. The verse goes like this. Kurvate karma bhogaya karma kartumcha bhunjate nadyam kita ivavarthad avartantara masute rajanto janmano janma labhante naiva nivritim. Next slide, sir. The jiva, ever in search of permanent peace, security, and happiness, believing that to be outside oneself, karma kurvate, they enter into frantic activity, performing actions to acquire them. But every karma inevitably produces karma phala, which in turn compels the jiva to perform yet more karma, leading to repeated experiences of joy, sorrow, gain, and loss. They move from one janma to another, engaging in endless actions in the hope of gaining that permanent peace, happiness, and security. But such a jiva never attains permanent peace, happiness, and security as their mind remains constantly disturbed, full of tension and anxiety, always worrying over one thing or another. Thus, caught in this endless cycle of Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, the Jivatma suffers continuously. This Swamy Vidyaranya portrays with a vivid metaphor where every Jiva is like the insect tossed by the currents of life into a river with many whirlpools. Each whirlpool we think is the final stop, but the current in the river only throws us into another. This unceasing state of agitation is what is called samsara. In this way, the jiva wanders endlessly until knowledge dawns, until we recognize we are not the insect nor the river, but the unchanging observer. We continue spinning in samsara. Let us see the representative words in this metaphoric verse. Nadyam, in the river, symbolizes samsara, the ever-flowing stream of worldly existence. Kita, insects, symbolize jivas, deluded by avidya. Avartha, whirlpool, represents the cyclical entrapments of birth and death. Asu vrajante, swiftly moving, reflects the restlessness and unconsciousness, propulsion through various lives. Janmano janma, from birth to birth, the endless cycle of rebirths. Naivat nirvrithim labhante, do not attain peace. Despite all the motion, they do not attain moksha. Next slide, sir. Concluding, avidya of one's true nature causes intellect to identify with the body-mind complex, resulting in karma and rebirth. Nivritti or moksha is not found in external changes or experiences, but in self-realization transcending the dualities of the world. As long as the Jivatma does not recognize self as non-different from Brahman, the individual will continue to wander in delusion, assuming a limited identity and taking one birth after another. So what sadhanas will help us shape our spiritual orientation? Next slide, sir. First, self-inquiry, that is Atma Vichara. Regularly question, who am I? Am I this changing body and mind or the unchanging witness? Avoid being caught in the whirlpool of thoughts, emotions, compulsions, and experiences. Second, detachment, that is Vairagya. Like insects in a current, we rush from one desire or identity to another. Begin to step back from this compulsive identification with roles, achievements, and sufferings. Next is Viveka. Develop the clarity to distinguish between Anitya and Nitya. Recognize that peace is not in changing the whirlpool, but transcending the river altogether. Next is seek the stillness beneath the current. Through meditation and Shastra Vichara, rise above the river to discover the changeless awareness beneath life's turbulence. Last, Anugraha matters. The verse implies that without intervention, be it a guru's guidance or divine grace, the jiva may never escape. So surrendering with humility is vital. We are all fortunate that we are blessed with a teacher and guru, Dr. Timmappa Hegde sir, and the grace of Swami Paramarthanandaji, Swami Anubhavanandaji, Puja Swami Shankara Bharati, and Swami Chidanandaji. Just as a compassionate person might rescue an insect from a whirlpool, a guru or spiritual guide can lift the seeker out of samsara through wisdom and grace. Hari Om, Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Shri Krishna.
Thank you very much, Shiv, for a very nice explanation of this very graphic experience of an insect caught in a whirlpool, which represents the problems that we all go through. This verse not only tells about the problems. While we are going through problems, our focus is on one problem after the other problem. But then our gurus will tell you, and thank God we have a guru, and the guru will ask you, are you in Samanya Jnanam or Vishesha Jnanam? Whenever I'm focused on one problem of the other, I'm focused on Vishesha Jnanam. Instead of that Vishesha Jnanam, can I become aware of that awareness principle which is always there? And even though I'm going through whirlpool after whirlpool, if I shift from that whirlpool experience to that silent state of Vishesha Jnanam, and that is what how a Karuna Nidhi, a guru will help, which will be explained by the next speaker, Dr. Sanjay.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Swamy Vidyaranya is describing the life story of an individual in these verses. Previously, he had described how one falls into samsara. And we also, in the previous speakers, explained us is the self-ignorance is the root cause of samsara. We also saw in detail how Vidyaranya took us through the triangle, that is the Jiva, Jagat and Ishwara, that's the creation we have. So the whole creation is manifested as Ishwara, Jiva or Jagat. All three of them are nothing but the one consciousness reflected in very different mediums, that is the Prakriti, the matter. So we also knew that the consciousness which is reflected in a Sattva dominant Prakriti is Ishvara, and this person is omniscient, he is all-knower, he is all knowledge, and this person is in our blissful state. There is no misery at all. Whereas a Jagat is the consciousness that is reflected in the Tamas Prakriti, wherein he is totally ignorant. And as we know, total ignorance is also bliss. Either full knowledge or no knowledge is blissful. But on the other hand, we, the Jivas, are the consciousness which is reflected in the Rajas dominant Prakriti, has got a partial knowledge, and that leads to misunderstanding. And this individual, the Jiva, is miserable. So this is how the Vidyaranya says a Jiva is getting into samsara. And the plight of a samsara is now beautifully compared to the plight of a worm fallen in the river, which was mentioned in the previous verse, and getting caught in one whirlpool or the other. And there is no relief from this cycle. This is the cycle of repeated births and deaths and is called samsara. Previous slides. So very few individuals are lucky to get out of this cycle of misery. So how does it happen? And this is explained in these subsequent verses. Let's go to the verse number 31. Sat karma paripakate karunanidhino dhrutaha prapya tirataruchayam vishramyanti yatha sukham. This is verse number 31. So how is this? Very few people are lucky enough to get out of this whirlpool of samsara. So what determines their luck? So very few people do not take the life for granted. Though most of the people are busy running around in the day-to-day affairs of the life, very few discriminative people, they start asking questions about this Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. So they ask, what is this relationship? Why are we suffering? Who am I really? So these questions can be raised only if one has enough punya. And when these punya is getting fructified, this type of questions start rising in one's mind. So what happens? He goes to a teacher. He wants to find out the answer to these. And then a teacher will ask him to study the scriptures or teach the scriptures which can answer these questions. Getting a right teacher who can teach the scriptures systematically is also important, and that also requires punya. However, with a constant effort and the grace of God, he gets on track with the help of a teacher. Now here, we need to know that we all have come to the Vedanta because of our previous punya. If that punya doesn't exist, we will never ask this question and we will never inquire into this. So because of that, we have come to a stage wherein we are been given what are these relationships through the scriptures and a teacher. Now it's important for us to have a proper effort. This is what is described by Shankaracharya. He says, mumukshutvam. This is very, very important. Now, once a person has come to this stage, he should never go back. He should realize himself and get freed. And that is very important. If it is not done, he says it is a very great loss. So here, the importance of effort is mentioned. And also you require, once the effort is there, the grace of God will always be there. And because of the combined effort and the grace of God, one person gets onto the right track to realize himself who he is. So let's come to the meaning of these verses. So he says, te, these individuals, satkarma paripakat. Next slide, sir. Due to fructification of meritorious deeds are being udhrata, that means they are lifted and saved by a karuna-nidhina, a person full of compassion. Now, this fructification of meritorious, this punya, will alone make a person to come to Vedanta. And when he comes to Vedanta, the teacher looks at him and then without of compassion. And this, who is this teacher? He is called as karuna-nidhina. He's full of compassion. And the teacher here is a realized person and he has nothing to lose. He can only give whatever he has. So he feels pity for this individual who is trying to get out of this samsara, and he saves him by imparting knowledge to get liberated. And that is described in the subsequent verses. So the next sentence says, prapya, having lifted and placed. Where does he place a worm? Tira taru chayam, on the shore under the shadow of a tree. And the worm vishramayanti relaxes thereafter yathasukam, easily. So this is what happens to a person who goes through a proper systematic study of Vedanta under the guidance of a guru, ultimately realizes himself that he is the consciousness, nothing other than that. And then that ends the samsara and he is at ease. So to recollect the meaning of this, again, these individuals, due to fructification of meritorious deeds, are being lifted by a person full of compassion. Having lifted and placed on the shore under the shadow of a tree, they relax at ease. How does a teacher lift and save an individual? That is described in the next verse. Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sanjay, for a very nice explanation of a key verse, the great moment when the Guru Tattva, the Guru principle, enters into our life. How do you get a Guru? Is it possible for us to choose a Guru? It is said this is one of the great mysteries of life. We are never able to choose a Guru. But when the time is right, when your past karmas fructify, that is when the Guru finds you. It is said it's not that we find the Guru finds you. All we need to be is to be receptive, to be open, to surrender, and to be able to serve and to experience the grace of a Guru. We will see more details in the next verse. Smita, please.
Thank you, Doctor. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. The verse 32 explains how Jivatma is lifted or rescued from the samsara. As we have seen in the previous verse, how a worm was rescued by a Karunanidhi or a person who is full of compassion. In the same manner, some Karunanidhi Guru lifts the Jiva from samsara. Here, it is a figurative lifting and Jiva is identified with Panchakosha. Panchakosha Abhimana is the identification with Samsara. The withdrawal from Panchakosha is lifting process which is done with the help of Guru Upadesham. This Guru Upadesham is the lifting process. The verse proper goes like this: Upadeshamavapyaivam Acharya Tattvadarshinaha Panchakosha Vivekena Labante Nirvrittim Param. Receiving the teaching from Acharya lifts the seeker to gain liberation. Guru teaches Panchakosha Viveka that helps one gain liberation. Swamy Vidyaranya pointed out that Avidya is the cause of samsara. He elaborately dealt with creation and he showed how Avidya is responsible for samsara, and the reason he gives was Avidya happens to be Rajah-Pradhana-Prakriti, in which Sattva Guna is polluted by Rajogunaha and Tamogunaha. And because of pollution, the Jiva, who is a consciousness reflected in Avidya, is not able to know his true nature and results in having the samsara problem. But Ishwara, the consciousness reflected in Maya, where the Sattva Guna is not polluted by Rajas or Tamas. Therefore, Ishwara knows his real nature being, I am not even Maya, I am not even reflected consciousness, I am the original consciousness, though I appeared as Ishwara in the presence of Maya. Now, in the slide explains, when Maya is removed, the reflection may go, but the original consciousness will continue. When the mirror goes away, the reflected face will go away, but the original face does not go away. The Jiva mistakes himself to be limited reflected consciousness and identifies with the finite medium and finite reflection, whereby he suffers. He therefore turns outward in search of Purnatvam. He does not get fulfillment by himself and he looks outside to get fulfillment. The struggles begin with the childhood. The first he gets joys with the toys, then toys are replaced by relationships. Ignorance leads to a sense of incompleteness, and ignorance leads to a sense of incompleteness, and that leads to desires after desires, which is called Kama Avidya Apurnatvam. Once Kama sets in, it will not allow one to remain satisfied. It will push one for eternal shopping. Once he is not able to gain satisfaction in this life, he dies with the inner urge and inner urge and feeling. He takes new life to fulfill the unfulfilled desires to get satisfied. So the cycle goes on and on. When punya fructifies, when somebody, just as a noble person, lifts the worm from the whirlpool in a river. Therefore, evam, in the same manner, acharyat karunanidehe upadesham avapyat, receiving the upadesha or the teaching from an acharya. And who is an acharya? Tattva-darshinaha, from a powerful jnani who has a firm footing on the shore. And how does he teach? Panchakosha vivekena, by applying the method of Panchakosha Viveka. I lift myself from Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. As explained in Taittiriya Upanishad, Etannamaya Atmanam Upasankramati, Etam Pranamaya Atmanam Upasankramati. Upasankramana means I put myself out of this Dehabhimana, Pranamaya Abhimana, and then what do you get? Param Labate. And what is the shore? The shore is Atma. Panchakosha Vilakshana Atma is a Tira Taruchaya. That is the shade of the tree is the Atma. And I, the Jiva, land in the Atma, Aham Brahma Asmi, and attain total relief. The seeker is able to achieve that aparoksha anubhuti which releases him or her from all limitation and gives supreme bliss. Dhanyavada.
Thank you very much, Smita, for a very nice explanation. What a guru can do, and that is the process of Jnana Yoga. How much have we understood of these verses? We will request Ramaji to conduct a quiz. Ramaji will do a teaching quiz in which she will present the question to us. It is very figurative, and to help us to answer, she will give the answers herself. Ramaji, please.
Harihi Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Iti Shloka 28, Swamy Vidyaranya concludes the description of manifestation of Jivas and their Prapanchas. Our gross sense organs can experience only the gross world, and subtle body with subtle senses can experience the dream world only. Depending on the measure of papas or punyas accrued over janmas, one gets the type of body required to experience that particular loka. Predominance of punyas results a deva shariram, papa pradhana an animal body, and in equal measure, that is papa and punya, in equal measure for a human body to experience both sukha and dukkha. So based on the jiva's karmas and Ishwara's creative power, that is due to Maya, various entities are born at both Vyasti, that is total, and Samashti, individual levels. For clarity, let us run through this table and fill in the blanks. The nature is Karana or causal Shariram.
I will try to answer the
Yeah.
question, madam. I will try to answer to the best of my understanding.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, you can correct me.
Yeah.
Nature, Karana, causal body or Karana Sharira, the avastha will be Sushupti, deep sleep. And in respect to Veshti, it is Prajna. In respect to Samashti, it is Ishwara.
Ishwara, correct. The
And
next.
coming to Swapna avastha or dream state, the nature will be Sukshma Sharira or subtle body. Coming to Hiranya Garbha, the concerned distinct in the Vyashti will be Taijasa.
Taijasa, correct.
In Sthula Sharira or gross body and Avastha, Jagrat Avastha, in respect to Vyashti, it will be Vishwa, and relate to Samashti, it will be Vaishwanara.
Perfect. Okay, I think this is okay. Thus, Swamy Vidyaranya ends the description of creation. So, in Samashti, we have Ishwara, Hiranya Garbha, Vaishwanaraha or Virat. In Vyasti, we have Prajna, Taijasa and Vishwaha. The pair Ishwara and Prajna at Samashti and Vyasti are Anadi. Now the whole setup is ready for the drama of Samsara for the Jiva. Ishwara, Hiranyagarbha and Vaishwanaraha will not suffer from Samsara because they have self-awareness. Ishwara is Maya Pratibimbita Chaitanyam, which is Sattva Pradhana-Prakriti. Ishwara will be called Hiranya Garbha and Virat respectively in Samashti level. Prajna, Taijasa and Vishwa together is called Jiva, and Jiva is Agnani because he is associated with Malina Sattva Pradhana Prakriti and is contaminated either by Rajas or Tamas. Therefore, Jiva has only partial knowledge and does not have self-knowledge, consequently suffers samsara. Self-ignorance is the cause of samsara. Since the Jiva is not aware of this, obviously cannot know the remedy for the problem called samsara. External things dominate their lives and engages all his senses for permanent peace, security and happiness. The plight of jivas in the samsara is well explained in the shloka 29. In the next slide, we see the shloka 29 and the question for that. The words given are karta and bhokta, fulfillment of desires, paranchikhani, jivaha, extroverted in nature, avidya upadhi and samsara. Now with these words given, can you please answer the questions or fill in the blanks. The word
te,
yeah, you can.
I will read the sentence and try to fill the blanks. The word te, meaning day, in this shloka refers to, I think it is Jivas, and are Paragadarshinaha. Paragadarshina meaning extrovert.
Yeah.
Then it is said that Jivas does not have self-knowledge because of Avidya Upadhi, right?
Yeah, Avidya Upadhi.
Upanishad mantra indicating this extroverted nature, Paragadarshitva, of Jivas is Paranchikhani.
Paranchikhani Vyatrunat Swayambhuhu Parak Pashanti Nantaratman. Yeah,
yes.
Okay.
The reason for Jivas to do karmas is it is Apurnatvam.
Apurnatvam.
Yes. And the last one, the word karma in the second line of shloka 29 implies Jivas to be a karta and a bhokta, resulting in samsara.
Correct. Let us see the answer for this. Okay. So Upadesha Sara by Ramana Maharshi. In that Kruti, Shloka 2 says, Kruti Mahadadhau Patana Karanam Phalam Ashashvatam Gati Nirodhakam. So the vast ocean of actions cause us to fall from the uninterrupted blissful self-awareness. This is the meaning. So now a jiva trapped in the whirlpool of karma, including laukika and shastriya karmas, become a bhokta. This bhoktrutva leads to more raga and dvesha and still more kamas and karmas. Thus, caught in the cycle of avidya, kama, karma, and then janma, and hence cause samsara. Swamy Vidyaranya illustrates the outcome of pleasure hunting in the external world using a brilliant simile. He says Jiva is like an insect fallen into a river. When the insect caught in a whirlpool, it goes round and round in it. It may get out of that whirlpool only to find itself stuck in another one. Similarly, the Jiva travels from one Shariram to another helplessly and samsara follows. If the jiva does not travel inwards, it falls into the river of worldliness, which has many whirlpools of pain and pleasure. Tempting sense objects are like the crocodile in the river of samsara, which Swamy Vidyaranya terms as Mahamohagrasa in the shloka 1. The jiva also has no way of saving itself. That is, na karmana, na prajaya, na dhanena, tyage naika amrutatva manashuhu. So only when a compassionate person comes along and saves, it gets free from the river and its whirlpools. When some punyam fructifies, a mahatma may come along and lead him to moksha. If it gets saved, thus it is because of its prarabdha karmas, fructification of prarabdha karmas. And now let us understand the illustration in the shloka 30 and its application in the shloka 31. Now, referring to the illustration, can you please answer this, mark the sentence, mark the words with the images?
Yes, madam.
Yeah.
Another birth refers to Janmana, Janma, Prajanta or Labante. Another birth is Janmano, Janma, Labante.
Yeah.
Next is whirlpool of pleasure and pain refers to Avartantaram. That is the whirlpool that you are seeing, Avartantaram, the blue, the third picture.
Yeah.
The Jiva refers to Nadyam Kita.
Nadyam Kita. Okay.
Nadyam Kita, the first picture.
Yeah, correct.
And then the tempting sense objects. Tempting sense objects refers to Avartat.
Okay.
Avartat. And a hopelessly trapped situation. Nirvritam Naivalabhante.
That is, he is trapped in the cage of samsara. He happily enjoys that.
In the pose. Yes.
Yeah, bandhatva. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, all the answers are correct. The next question, the introduction is given already, explanation is given. Can you please answer?
Yes, I will go with the statements that is given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and relate it to the picture.
Yeah.
Jiva is saved is the third picture. Jiva is saved relates to the third picture, third image. Under the shade of a tree on the river bank, this relates to the fourth picture.
Yes.
Some past good karmas fructifying relates to first picture. Enjoys freedom from sufferings related to the last picture. The doll is dancing there.
Yeah.
And a compassionate person, this relates to the second picture.
Okay, let's see the answer now. Yeah. The doll is supposed to dance anyway. Yeah. Some of the past good karmas fructify and a compassionate person saves the Jiva. Jiva is saved and is under the shade of a tree on the river bank, which is compared to the Atma itself. It enjoys freedom from sufferings of samsara. Thus, the lucky one gets Upadesham in the form of consistent, systematic study of the Shastras under an efficient Guru. In the Shloka 2 of this chapter, Swamy Vidyaranya calls this Upadesham as Tattvasya Sukha Bodhaya. So, the Guru uses methodologies prescribed in Shastras. The methods are prescribed in the Shastra to teach Vedanta are called Prakriyas or methodologies. For example, Avasthatraya Prakriya, Panchakosha Prakriya, Drukdrushya Viveka, and then Avasthatraya, Shariratraya Viveka. This teaching methodology itself is lifting one from the whirlpool of samsara to attain the highest place and contentment. Thus, the Jiva attains permanent security, peace, and happiness, which he was looking in the external world. Now, let us answer this in accordance with the Shloka 32. Over to the next slide, sir. Yeah. Answer the following questions.
Okay. The sadhana indicated by the word Upadesham is Shravanam.
Shravanam.
And
Here, Shravanam means what is the word indicated by that?
Shravanam means?
Shravana is indicated by which word? That is which group of words? By words. Panchakosha Viveka.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, then.
Tattvadarshi is Acharyaha and Tattvadarshinaha.
Okay.
Swamy Vidyaranya prescribes Upadesham as the solution for a samsaram.
Okay.
And Param means ultimate. Param means ultimate. And
yes.
Nirvritti means peace and contentment.
Contentment. Now about the fifth question, group the following words to either Jiva, Jagat or Ishwara or Guru. Ishwara is same as Guru, we can consider. Now classify these words.
Okay, madam.
Yeah.
Paragadarshinaha, Tattva Bodha Vivarjitaha and Karta and Bhokta relates to Jiva.
Yeah.
Okay, am I right?
Yes, yes.
Nadyam, Avartanam and Janmas refers to Jagat.
Jagat.
And the things related to Ishvara and Guru are Acharya, Kananidhi and Tattvadarshi.
Karunanidhi and
Karunanidhi. Okay, Karunanidhi and Tattvadarshi.
Yeah. Now let's see the answer. Okay. So Swamy Vidyaranya has completed the Samsara Varnanam with the statement Samsara is because of Agnanam. At Satkarma Paripakat, Jiva has solution for the Samsara. It is the result of Punya Karma of the past several Janmas. It is possible for a Jiva to get out of Samsara only through Guru Shastra Upadesha. That is Gnanam attained by Guru Shastra and Upadesha. A sufficient punya will give one opportunity for this Upadesha and the desire for Shastra Vichara. Lord Krishna says in the Gita, Aneka Janma Samsiddhaha Tato Yati Param Gatim. Purified from material desires, they attain perfection in this Janma itself. Harihi Om. Namaste. Thank you.
Profound Dhanyavada to all our revered speakers and especially to Dr. Timmappa Hegde, whose luminous words helped unfold the subtle truths with clarity and grace. Not to forget the wonderful quiz reinforcing the key learnings of the verses of the day. Dear seekers of truth, let us gather again in Satsanga on Monday, September 29th at 6:45 p.m. for the 12th session of our Mananam series on Kathopanishad. Dr. Timmappa Hegde sir shall be explaining mantras 15 to 17 from chapter 1, Valli 3. These verses teach us that the self cannot be known through external means. He who has not turned away from the wickedness, whose mind is not controlled and not at peace, cannot realize the self, even through knowledge. Even through knowledge. Purity of character and discipline of mind are necessary. Only when the self is seen as the highest treasure and goal of life does it reveal itself to the seeker. So do not miss joining our next Mananam session. Friends, let us now chant the Shanti Mantra and conclude today's session. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Shri Krishna Arpanam.